Good morning, bookaholics. I thought I would change location a little bit. I wanted to have my breakfast out on my balcony. I don't normally film out here because it is a little bit messy. It rains dirt. I'm in southern Spain and we get desert winds. So we get the wind and then we get the rain. So then it rains dirt. At this point, it happens like 4 times a year. So just painting over it is super annoying and wasteful. We're in a drought, so I'm not gonna jet hose it or anything, so it's gonna stay like that. But I'm never gonna film out here if I'm just embarrassed about a little bit of dirt that I can't do anything about. So here I am. But it's Monday morning, and this week I am going to be focusing on Blackathon, which is hosted by Jessie over at Jessie on YouTube. They're an amazing human being. They host the readathon every year. It's actually a month-long readathon, but I just dedicate a week to it. I'm not actively following the prompts, but I am going to see if any of the books I read actually work for any of the prompts. I have 4 books in mind, the same as I have the 2 previous weeks. I have 2 traditionally published books and 2 self-published books, which I will get into in a minute. But I'm excited for this week, and I thought I would kick it off in a new location. You can see what the view from my balcony is like living in the Spanish countryside. And yeah, let's go. When I finish my breakfast, I'll go show you what I'm planning on reading. Alright, today I am on a time crunch, so I am only just getting back to you now with my TBR, but I am cooking at the same time. So if I am not paying much attention to you, it is because otherwise I might chop a digit off. So what am I reading? Well, I'll start with the self-pub. I'm going to be doing with this week the same as I've been doing with the last couple of vlogs, where I'm going to try and do a self-pub series and then a traditionally published series. So the self-published series is another one that is potentially new adult, which is within the self-pub sphere, something I'm kind of more than happy to be reading, but I am really excited to give this one a go. It's the Forging of Age series by Tatiana Obey. This is one that I have heard good things about, but I haven't heard about it from many people. Like, it's kind of one of those that's a bit underrated. So I am looking forward to getting to formulating my opinions on. I know that Tatiana Obey has either a novel or a novella out that's like samurai inspired that has kind of garnered her more attention. I'm excited to give this one a go. It's about this society in which you have to take part in this, have to go hunt something, and on a wind ship, I think it is, and we get 2 girls that have been paired together, one whose father was like a really well-renowned person in this like game thing that they have to do. So she wants to smash her father's record, be the next big thing. And then you have this other girl who, so you can take part in this thing a couple of times, and then otherwise you're kind of like a disgrace to your family. So essentially we have this other girl who, this is her first time in the race, and she's kind of alright in her confidence that she'll do it fine. But this is her brother's last chance at this race, otherwise her father's going to disown him. So she is trying to help her brother. She doesn't care about this other girl's goals. She just wants to help her brother. So we have like this conflict of interest where you have someone who doesn't care about not coming first, and then someone who really wants to come first, and they have to work together. So I'm excited for that one. I'm hoping that I will enjoy it. And then the other series, the traditionally published series I'm going for, is the Dreamblood duology by N.K. Jemisin. N.K. Jemisin is one of my favorite authors. I have read 2 series by her, loved both of them, so I'm really excited to get into this one. This one, I believe, surrounds dream magic. We have people who harvest people's dreams. I'll read the back of this one because Jemisin's synopses are always a bit strange. So it says, the city burns beneath the dreaming moon. In the ancient city-state of Gajare, peace is the only law. Upon its rooftops and among the shadows of its cobbled streets wait the gatherers, the keepers of this peace. Priests of the dream goddess. Their duty is to harvest the magic of the sleeping mind and use it to heal, soothe, and kill those judged corrupt. When a conspiracy blooms within Ijare's great temple, the gatherer Hiru, I'll go with a hero, must question everything he knows. Someone or something is murdering innocent dreamers in the goddess's name. And Ihiru now must protect the woman he was sent to kill, or watch the city be devoured by war and forbidden magic. So it sounds really good. I love N.K. Jemisin's magic systems. I love the way that she doesn't hold your hand, she just dumps you in it. Also, it being centered on a city, because everything that I like about Broken Earth and everything that I like about the Inheritance series series is the sense of community. That's like one of my favorite aspects, is when you have a sense of community. So I'm really excited to see how that plays out. Also, it having like this religious connotation as well. I'm really excited to give them a go. So that's my TBR for this vlog. So hopefully I can get to those. My priority is going to be the Jemison ones, just because Jemison's my favorite author. But I really want to get into a South Pub author that is an author of color, because I've read a few from Asian authors, but I don't think I've actually read any Black South Pub authors yet. I know that P.L. Stewart has a series coming out, but his series isn't concluded yet, and I binge read series. So that's where I am at with my reading. So once I have actually started something, which, you know, given that it's gone midday on Monday, you'd think I should have by now, but alas, here we are. I'm gonna go read while I eat, and then I will hopefully have something to say tomorrow morning when I get back to you. Am I going to film later and look substantially better? Yes. Am I going to do this vlog update now though? Also yes. It is Tuesday and I have done some reading, so I thought I'd check in. I haven't been reading as much as I would. I have. I'm not as far into the books as I would like to be. I've actually been reading a lot. So I am buddy reading The Hollow Places by T. Kingfisher with my friend Eleanor, which I'm not going to be chatting about in this vlog because I'm trying to keep this like a Blackathon vlog. So that does mean that I am in a position where I am actually reading a whole other book as well. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add an extra like day or two to this vlog, so it might end Monday, Tuesday instead, to kind of compensate for that. It depends on how I do with the books. So far I have started The Killing Moon by N.K. Jemisin. I am 104 pages in. Oh my god, just being back with Jemisin's writing in a world Jemisin has made, being back with one of my favorite authors and it clicking so perfectly. I didn't know how much I had missed Jemisin. Like, I didn't read any Jemisin last year. This was on my TBR. I just didn't get to it. And I've really missed her writing so much. I am so glad I have another series after this that I can get to, because otherwise I would be very sad. So it's looking good for me in that sense, because I am loving her writing style. The way this story is going so far is very interesting. Like, I keep wanting to read, which is amazing, because I read a Robin Hobb series last year and DNF'd it. I read a Joe Abercrombie series last year, gave it 4 stars instead of 5. So it's a bit like, oh, are my tastes changing? And then Jemisin came in and was like, nah, girl, you're good. And I'm so happy. So I can't wait to keep reading this. So far, not a huge amount has happened. If you have ever read a Jemisin book, you will know that she reveals the plot very slowly, that she gives you information slowly. She does not hold your hand through it. You kind of have to figure stuff out on your own. You have to just go with it a bit. So they're going to be a bit difficult to talk about, but it's worth it because I just love her prose and her world building, and the concepts that she conjures up are just amazing. And I can't wait to continue. So you're just going to get a load of me being like, I heart Jemisin throughout this vlog. But I do. I love her. I have also been reading Bones to the Wind by Tatiana Obey. This is so much fun. The thing is, what I'm really enjoying doing, which was the same when I was reading my Polathon books with the Megan Lindham versus Zaya Feli, is that you have this combo of an intense read that is a thinking read. It requires my attention and my energy, which in that case was the Reindeer People, and in this case is the Dream Blood series, where I am going to have to focus, and it's totally worth it and I love it, but I need to concentrate. So then, like Icefjord was like a fun, it's not even that necessarily the content's always fun, it's just the writing style is much more accessible and is kinder to my brain. And that is exactly how I am treating the Forging of Age series by Tatiana Obey. It's fun, and there are those that are like pitched as new adult because they are very accessible, and we have Rassia and Nico who are stuck on this ship together and they have to try and work together despite having almost complete opposite goals for what they want in this contest, and it's so good, and I am super excited to continue. It's one that I'm just reading on my phone, so I just flick through while I'm doing other stuff, and I don't know exactly how far in I am. Actually, I probably should have checked, but on a Kindle it's just so easy to kind of just keep reading. I have no idea where I'm at, but the dynamic between the two at the moment is incredibly frustrating, which is literally the point, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they overcome that and eventually become friends, or who knows, they might become absolute arch nemesis. I don't know. The planes are back. I swear every single vlog now you're going to hear planes. Lately the planes have been flying more. Like, it's a daily occurrence now. Like, it used to just be like on weekends, or sometimes, you know, like with the flight school and stuff, there would be the occasional one throughout the week, and then in like the last 2 weeks it's been daily. Like, every single day there are the planes. It's insane. I am gonna go. I'm gonna get to reading. I'm having a very good time with all of my books. I'm laughing out loud to The Hollow Places, which again, not relevant to the vlog, but I'm laughing out loud to that one. And then I'm like compulsively reading Bones to the Wind. Like, it's just, it's so easily digestible to get through, and then my brain is so happy to be reading Jemison. So just, I am in literary bliss at the moment, because all of my different needs are catered to across these 3 books. So happy Faye, and I'm gonna hopefully keep it that way. So I will update you tomorrow, hopefully when I am at least halfway through some of these books. Hey Bookaholics, it's Wednesday afternoon and I thought I would check in. I've been trying to sort out my conservatory that's going to be turned into a playroom. I showed it in my Polathon blog. The table is now out, so now it would be getting to construction, which means that here we're going to put a desk. So we need to go to the hardware store to go get all the stuff for that. But yeah, I've been doing some knocking about, and I was at the pediatrician's this morning. So I have been reading digitally, which means that I have all but finished Bones to the Wind. I'm nearly done with that one now. It's about, I don't know, I think I'm about 87 or something % of the way in. Like, I am pretty far in at this point, so I'll probably go finish that now while I go have lunch. But yeah, it's a fun, compulsively readable read, you know. Like, the plot's not the most innovative thing, the character archetypes aren't the most innovative things, but I don't care. Like, it's a really enjoyable read. It's decently written, it's easy reading, and at the same time still being entertaining. For the most part, I'm having a good time. So I'm going to continue with that. I'm going to go, like I said, have lunch and continue with that. And then I'm probably going to have a shower. And then hopefully I can get some more Jemison in as well. If you can hear my dog eating, I'm very sorry. I am going to go read some Jemison hopefully this evening to catch up on that, because I'm not as far in as I would like to be. So I just need to like sit down for a solid couple hours and read that later. But yeah, not doing too bad with the reading, not doing too bad with the construction. Oh, right. Yeah, I don't think I've ever shown you guys these. I get my husband to do art all over the house. And if anyone used to have a PS2, you'll know who these dudes are. It's going to be really fun. We're going to, I think, hopefully do some more artwork in the playroom is what I say we. I am going to make him do artwork in the playroom, and it's going to be great. But yeah, that's all. I don't really have anything else to update you with at the moment. So I will leave you there, and I will see you in whatever clip I do next. Hey Bookaholics, it's Thursday, so it's time to check in. It's Thursday morning, I've just woken up. I have a bit of a cold coming on, which is always fun. But I did, in fact, finish Bones to the Wind yesterday, and I ended up giving it 4 stars. It's quite a low 4 stars, but it's a 4 stars. I had a really good time with it. It was a fun story. I don't have overly strong feelings about it, but I enjoyed it. I have since picked up the sequel. I kind of went almost straight into the sequel because they're light-hearted reads. They don't require an awful lot of brain power, which at the moment is what I want, but at the same time they don't feel purposeless. Like, they are still entertaining. They still have messages around, especially around things like privilege, around family, and understanding other people's circumstances and situations. And like, the relationship between the two took a while, and I found Rassia especially quite difficult. I know a lot of people seem to find Rassia difficult because like she's deliberately written to be quite a difficult person. I also found Nico difficult at times though, because she didn't take the time to understand Rassia either. Like, it's like, okay, well, she doesn't understand how important this is, and I understand that technically Nico's needs in a larger scheme are more important than Rassia's, but it really dismisses Rassia's needs. And that happens a lot. It's kind of like the same as in like Princess and the Frog, where you have Tiana really, really just working her absolute arse off to get the restaurant that she wants, and everyone's just like, oh, just calm down. It's like, why are we telling young women that being like super ambitious is a bad thing? So it's kind of along those lines of like, you know, Rassia really wants glory and she needs to be taught otherwise. But it's a bit like, okay, Rassia's goals and dreams and aspirations, if she weren't paired with Nico, who literally has like a almost life-saving agenda, Rassia's goals are not only acceptable but almost like the entire point of the race. So like, yeah, I found that slightly annoying. But other than that, I enjoyed the story, the banter between the two, and yeah, I'm enjoying the sequel since I've started it as well. I have made a bit of progress with my Jemison. I am halfway through The Killing Moon. I am really hoping that today and tomorrow I can finish this one, so that then I have the weekend to finish the sequel, which is The Shadowed Sun. So I would like for today and tomorrow to be finishing up Jemison, The Killing Moon, and then Tatiana Obey with Dragon Your Bones, I think is what the sequel's called. So I'm going to be reading those two, hopefully, today and tomorrow, and then I'll spend the whole weekend reading The Shadowed Sun. So I will get back to you tomorrow or today if I do manage to finish this one. Hey guys, it's the next day. I am still in the same pajamas because I reuse pajamas. I realised I've now finished The Killing Moon, and I realised that I didn't actually tell you any of my thoughts on it halfway. But yeah, this is one, it's probably for the best actually that I didn't, because Jemison is such a hard author to discuss her books unless it's with someone else who's read her books. Like, it's very hard to do it in a spoiler-free way, because Jemison is the kind of author that is best to go in blind. It's best to go in with no expectations and just kind of muddle your way through. She doesn't hold your hand through any of her books, and it's no different with this one. This one has dream magic, which is hit or miss for me, but I really liked the way that it was used in a way that was very similar to like death, or to discussions around things like euthanasia and the importance of like someone dying happily, someone dying calmly and peacefully, instead of someone dying in pain. So there was a lot of emphasis on that, which I thought was really good. And given that N.K. Jemisin was a carer for, I think, either the elderly or the sick, you can see that this will potentially have come from actual experience of having watched people suffering and there being very little you can do for them aside from drugging them up. So then it comes across in this book as a very important conversation around pain and around suffering in a way that we have not seen much of. You know, there's a lot of magic on like soothing pain, a lot of healing magic, but just the idea of healing someone's brain because of their pain, their physical pain. So the dream magic in this is essentially sometimes used as a euthanasia, which was really interesting, because then you're setting someone off into like a happy dreamscape into death, which was a very interesting conversation. And but then there was also the opposite approach, people who think that is quite barbaric, to take someone's life, take someone's
dream magic. I really liked the conversations that were being had in this book, and it's handled in a way as well that deals with corruption within the system of these dream wielders, dream magic wielders. And you have political corruption, you have this order which are somewhat like a religious order, and the corruption within. You have how easily people you have invested your entire you have invested your entire life into can turn against you in an instant. And I liked that, I really did. It's an approach that I normally find a little bit annoying. It's a little bit like how in Mission Impossible, every 5 seconds Tom Cruise is being accused of something and he has to go on the run and prove that he's innocent, and like time and time again it's like, oh, are you actually a traitor within our system? So it's like that narrative annoys me of, oh, you are going to be our fall guy, or oh, well, you know, you've built your trust with us for your entire life, but now we're super sus of you because of this one thing. I find that annoying a lot of the time, but the way it was handled in here, it didn't bother me so much. And the people that do or don't believe in Hero, it was also interesting. So yeah, it was interesting. And it had really good discussions, and I felt so strongly about this world. I loved the characters, even the like secondary characters still felt very poignant. They brought something to the table and to the discussion. I love N.K. Jemisin's writing so much. I think that she's a magnificent storyteller, and I have not read it through Cool Pal yet, but I know this is a 5-star read. Like, there's no ifs or buts about it, because these books, just the way that she writes, just suits my brain, suits my soul, and I love reading her books. So yeah, I'm super glad to have finished this one, which does mean that I now need to move on to The Shadowed Sun, which is the sequel. I am very, very curious to see where this book goes. So that's what I'm going to be doing over the weekend. Hopefully this time, when I'm halfway through the book, I'll actually check in with you. I have made a huge amount of progress actually in Dragon Your Bones, the sequel. I can never remember the sequel. I always find these titles a bit weird. For some reason, the titles of this series won't stick in my brain. I am quite a way into Dragon Your Bones because reading digitally is a lot easier for me. Basically, reading physically is first thing in the morning, I give myself like an hour to read, and then last thing at night, if I can manage, I will read. And then I've been reading digitally throughout the day because we've been doing renovations to the house. So I've read a lot. It follows on from the sequel. I think it's a pretty decent sequel. If you liked the first one, you'll like the second one. This isn't a series that I feel very strongly about, but it is one that is entertaining me a lot. So it's one that it's doing exactly what I need it to do. That is exactly why I wanted to read this series at the, like, specifically this week at this time, doing these things, because I'm super busy and I'm reading Jemisin when I'm reading physically, which is a lot on the noggin. It was just really nice to have a fun, engaging, entertaining read, but one that doesn't actually make you sacrifice like thought. Like, it still very much gives you room to think, and it ponders questions and social critique. Still, it's not just complete fluff, but at the same time it has like the kind of pacing, the kind of writing, the kind of narrative setup that makes it just really fun, enjoyable, compulsively readable stories that are not difficult to put down when I need to get stuff done, and then when I sit there on my phone I can continue reading as and when. So overall, like, that is exactly what I wanted from this book, and it seems like that's what I'm getting. So that's pretty awesome because it's fulfilling all of my needs. Hey guys, happy weekend! I have been slowly but surely deteriorating into illness, so I am very sorry for just all of it, really, all of it. I am now halfway into Shadowed Sun, and this is such an incredible series, and it's such the wrong thing to be reading while my brain is not great, while I'm poorly, but also it is exactly what I need because it's something that actually keeps me wanting to read. Because I think if I were reading something that were engaging me less, I would have just DNF'd at this point because I'm just not feeling anything. So I am having an incredible time with it, and I never want to put it down, but at the same time, it requires so much brain power. I'm having an amazing time with it though. I can't talk about this sequel because I can barely talk about the first book. N.K. Jemisin has this kind of writing style that is so alluring and at the same time, so it's like it's compulsively readable but not an easy read. And I find that really interesting because normally I either have like authors that I'm like, okay, no, this is going to be a brainy kind of read, like I need all cylinders firing, and then there are authors that I'm like, oh, I'm going to go to them because they're a comfort read because it's an easy read. And somehow Jemison is both. Like, she is very much someone who I really want to continue reading every single time. Like, I don't want to stop reading when I have to get on with life. But it's not an easy read. And how she does it, I don't know. I love her character work. She always creates these very flawed, layered, interesting characters. They take a while sometimes to get to know and get used to because they've been through so much, because they have this distance, because they have shut off for whatever reason, and it comes from this backstory that slowly gets unveiled. It's a writing technique that she uses that I really appreciate, but I understand it's not to everyone's liking. I'm having an incredible time reading this series and I can't wait to conclude it tomorrow. Talking of concluding though, I have finished Dragging Your Bones. I really liked this series. I had a really good time with it. As I keep saying, I don't feel overly strongly about it. Like, it's like not, oh my god, this is like the best thing I've ever read, but it's doing what I want it to do. It's an easy read, it's a fun read, it's an entertaining read. It concluded really well. It had a good, strong ending. Most readers that enjoy the series will find satisfying, which I think is obviously the most important part. More so even with a duology. A lot of trilogies, they have kind of the setup of like the beginning, the middle, and the end. And duologies, they have a slightly skewed structure, and I think that for newer authors, indie authors, it is a harder thing to accomplish, and I think that she did do a really good job of wrapping up the series, wrapping up the characters' arcs without it having a finality that feels really cliche, that feels really dissatisfying, that feels too open-ended. Like, it feels like a very authentic and decent place for the story to come to its end, and I appreciated that. So again, I don't talk about this with very strong emotion or feeling, but the characters I found interesting. It's a really interesting world as well. It's got good world building in a slightly over the top but fun kind of way, and she's got punchy dialogue that is really fun between the characters. She has characters that have to grow on you, but that works for me. That is a dynamic that I actually like. The plots really roll really nicely as well. So overall, not like a new favorite, but definitely an incredibly well written series that I think is really enjoyable. So that's it. I will come back tomorrow, hopefully, having concluded The Shadowed Sun, and then we can wrap up this vlog. Hey Bookaholics, it's been a day. I am not well. I'm really not well. It's actually Monday. I didn't vlog at all yesterday, but we did manage to finish the house. I will insert a clip. And the playroom looks lovely and the kids love it and it's great, but I am very sick. I'm sure it is rather obvious. I did, however, this morning manage to finish up The Shadowed Sun. I didn't have long left. Actually, though, I had longer left. In typical Jemison fashion, she has a glossary at the end, and I always forget. So I always think I have like 20 more pages than I actually have of the book. I loved this book because the politics, if the politics were intense in the first one, they amp up so much more in this one. And the way the scheming comes into play in this one, and the manipulations are really fascinating. Getting inside the homes of these political figures and seeing what is like the skeletons in their closets was really fascinating. Jemison does such a good job with her character work, and the way that then in this case that character work directly feeds into the politics of the world because they are the people that are in control was absolutely masterfully done, and the reasons behind people's choices and motivations are always super believable in a Jemison book. Even if you don't initially know why, you know it's going to become clear and she is going to show you and explain it to you and it will make sense. So I also think that just my blind faith that I have in her writing at this point also carries me through. I don't know if this series is one I would recommend being the first Jemison you pick up, because I do think that with it being a duology, like I was kind of saying about the Tatiana Obe ones, with it being a duology, duologies are inherently structured differently, and I think that if you are a speculative reader, so if you read sci-fi or fantasy, especially, potentially also horror, I haven't read many horror series, but with speculative works, basically their usual setup of beginning, middle, end with a trilogy is kind of crucial, because you have the first book to establish a whole world, set up characters, and a plot. And then you have the second book that actually puts all of those things into motion, and then the third book to wrap it up. So with a duology, that's not really the case. So you have so much more needing to go into the first book that I think it can feel a bit intense, a bit much. So if you've not read a Jemison before, she has 2 trilogies. I haven't read her other duology yet, which I know is criminal. I'm getting there. But if you haven't read her trilogies, then the first book in this series might feel a bit much, and then it might also feel like the second book is still growing things, when even though it's the last book in a series and it should be tying things up, you have a decent chunk of the book still expanding, still growing. I loved it, and because I love Jemison's writing and I know she can pull it off. I don't know if I'd recommend this being the first series of hers you try, because I think that knowing her writing and knowing what she can accomplish really helped me with this book, and I don't know how much of a hindrance that might be if you don't know the way she wraps up series works for you. So I would recommend one of her trilogies, either or. I mean, obviously the Broken Earth trilogy is substantially more popular. I would say that the Inheritance trilogy is potentially easier to get into, because they kind of read like companion novels more than a full-fledged series. Either or, I would start with the trilogies. I wouldn't start with this duology, but if you are a seasoned Jemison reader, I think you will love this. Everything that you expect at this point from a Jemison novel, everything that I have come to love about her writing, about the way that she weaves things in, the way she will pull on a thread that you thought she had dropped along the way, absolutely perfect. So another 5 stars from me. I think at this point there is only one Jemison book that I have given 4 stars to, and that's the first Inheritance novel, and that's her debut novel. So do with that information what you will. I love Jemison's writing. But now I'm going to go wrap up this vlog, because it needs to go up, preferably tomorrow, so that then I can forget about it when you guys can actually see it on Wednesday. So yeah, I need to get a wiggle on. So let's go wrap up this vlog. First off, I'm going to talk about the Forging of Age series, which is a new adult duology written by Tatiana Obe that I ended up giving both books 4 stars, so it's a 4-star series overall. I do think that both of them were evenly matched. I don't think it was one where it was like had a stronger ending, had a stronger start, or anything like that. I think that it was kind of like one story split in 2, and it came to an organic place to stop, and it definitely felt correct as a duology, but it flowed really well from one to another, so it did feel like all one concise story. So that one I ended up really liking. It was really punchy, fast paced, had good dialogue, had good banter, sapphic romance, great interactions between the characters, interesting enough world building. You've got trials as well, which is always a really good one to keep the plot going and therefore keep up the pace. Yeah, I found that the protagonists sometimes were a little bit annoying along the new adult, I am an adult now style stories, where it's like, actually you still have a lot to learn. Just because you just turned 18 doesn't mean you are suddenly peak maturity, but we've all been there, and it made sense, and it allowed for so much growth for the characters, so I did really appreciate that. One of my issues with it was very much that it did kind of pitch Gracia as being a little bit too selfish, because she had goals and aspirations, as opposed to, like, once her and Nico start communicating, it gets a lot better, but Nico's goals of being like helping helping someone else, helping her brother, and Rassi is being about self-serving. It's like, okay, but being ambitious is fine. Like, it's not actually a character flaw, even though we treat it like it is, especially in women. That was a little bit annoying at times for me, but I think it was eventually handled well, and I did think that the way the two came together eventually and how it all ties in worked. But I would have liked less of the, oh, Rassi is super selfish because she wants glory, while Nico's the best because she wants to help her brother, because it's such a narrative that gets pushed on women a lot of just like, you are a better person if you don't care about your own ambitions and you want to help someone else. And I understand, like, helping her brother is an amazing thing. Like, I'm not knocking Nico. Nico's goals and hopes are amazing. She wants to help her brother, but why does that need to come at the expense of Rassia being a worse person than Nico because Rassia wants to do it for herself? I don't know. Personally, that is something that annoys me. Again, it was definitely handled well eventually and the resolutions were fine. But for me personally, it took a little too long to get there, in my opinion. Then we're going to talk about the Dreamblood duology by N.K. Jemisin with The Killing Moon and The Shadowed Sun. This duology, another 5-star series for me. Love N.K. Jemisin's writing. It's heavily political, very interesting magic system that is to do with dreams. And I just think that the way that Jemisin has crafted this world, the characters and the politics and their roles within was fantastic, because we see so many different echelons of society as well as like the poorer part of its society. We see the religious figureheads and people with that kind of power. We see people with the kind of political power, nobility and scheming, but then we also do see them interact with just the poorer ends of the population. I think that Jemisin does an exploration of class and society in a way that is exceptional and is not what you normally see in fantasy. I love her writing. I love her discussions. I love the way that she creates societies for the primary purpose of critiquing it. And I just think that overall her writing style and her prose are some of the best in the genre at the moment. And I know everyone loves Broken Earth, but she's still an underhyped author. Like, she has other works that are amazing that we should be reading. But that is it from me. So thank you ever so much for watching. I'm really sorry that you've had to put up with, well, whatever this is, but hopefully I will catch you in another one soon. I don't know how much I'm going to be vlogging in March. I enjoyed vlogging, but also by then my niece is going to be here and I've got guests, so I don't know if I'm going to continue vlogging. I would like to. Let me know if you would like me to. They seem to be doing well enough this time round. Before, no one ever used to watch my vlogs, so I've clearly gotten better at it. But yeah, hopefully I will catch you in another one soon. Bye!